Well, good morning, councillors. Good morning to our visitors this morning, and of course to staff. We do have live streaming as well, so to those who are watching, thank you for joining us this morning. This is the first Strategy, Policy and Finance Committee meeting of the year, so no mai hara mai, welcome to everybody this morning. Apologies, please. We have apologies from Her Worship the Mayor, Councillor Maxwell, Councillor Tapsell, Councillor Bentley, and I understand Councillor Wepper for lateness this morning. Thank you. Thank you very much. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you. Thank you. I think that would be dependent on Councillor Wepper being here by then, so hopefully we will. We do need a quorum, so thank you. Declarations of interest, please. Thank you. Urgent business. Well, thank you. Councillor Stewart.
I have sought guidance from staff. I understand that the Associate Minister of Local Government, Louise Upston, is going to make a decision regarding the trial of the online voting this week. Apparently went to Cabinet on Monday. And I understand from JP, and discussing things with JP this morning, that an extensive discussion at O&M will occur, because after listening to an article on national radio the other day in the New South Wales experience, I have some real deep-seated concerns about the opportunity of people to manipulate and change the votes, also find out how individuals voted, and I don't think that that is what New Zealand wants to head down at this stage. Till those security issues can be erased, I'm not prepared to support it, but I think it will come up in O&M, so I don't want it discussed today. I just want to signal that it's coming back to the O&M meeting, as JP says. Thank you, Madam
Yes,
Chair.
thank you, Councillor Stewart. I too did hear that broadcast on national radio, and I certainly would like to see that report come up as soon as possible. Thank you. Councillor... Sorry, Councillor Gould, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Re the Cube Mill noise, when are the councillors going to get a briefing on what's happening in that particular area, please?
Thank you. I wonder, Councillor Donaldson, you were present at a meeting last night out there at Ngāpuna. Perhaps you could update us on that? Although obviously we're going to get something formal at some stage, will we?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was at a meeting requested by Eastside Residents Action Group last night here at Council, and Mr Foster was there along with Mr Tiriana as well, and all of the staff from Regulatory. The noise is exceeding the levels of the consent, but there is a plan in place for the noise to be dealt with. Half of the problem has been addressed apparently, and noise complaints have almost evaporated on that side of the mill. So the issue has been worked through. There was an excellent sharing of information with the action group last night, and Council have taken on board their concerns. I live in the area myself, so I share their concerns, and we have agreed on a meeting with the mill management, so there are steps underway, but there is a plan in place, and hopefully the issues will be addressed by the end of this month, weather permitting. Maybe 3 or 4 days into March, we should see a marked improvement.
Thank you very much for that update. Item 4 on our agenda, confirmation of the minutes. The minutes of the Strategy, Policy and Finance Committee meeting held on the 9th of December 2015. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Gould. Thank you to Councillor Hunt. So I'll just put that. Oh, are there any amendments, corrections? Or yes, thank Councillor Stewart.
Number 1, I moved a motion later in the meeting. I moved motion number 5, and yet I'm resolved that the apologies from Councillor Gould, Councillor Serang, Councillor Maxwell, Councillor Stewart and Councillor Tapsell for early departure be accepted. I don't recall leaving that meeting early, but I was present.
Thank you. We can make those changes. So I'll put that motion that our minutes be confirmed as a true and correct record. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary? Thank you. Item number 5, the petition. This is the presentation of petition to abandon plans to place a children's health hub in the Rotorua Public Library. I do know that petition has been presented to the Mayor, but I'd like to invite JP just to comment on this matter at present.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, this was just a request from the Mayor. She had received and met with the petitioners' organisers. So it was just really from an administrative point of view that she asked that to be formally received by Council. Understanding orders, we just place an item on this agenda to receive that petition. So it's for no other purpose than to have it formally registered with Council as being received by Council, not just the Mayor.
I see. I've never experienced this before, so the Mayor may receive it, but it has to be formally received by Council. Is that not what you're saying? Thank you. Councillor Shirang.
Just a question. Does this project come into the annual plan discussions for the forthcoming year, or is it set in concrete?
I thought it came under our long-term, actually. It was in the long-term plan. It was in the long-term plan, but it would come up.
In the long-term plan, but not at the dollar quantity that it is
That's
now.
right. Yeah, the dollar's not. We're not sure on that yet at this stage. That is correct, and that I think is still some way off yet.
Through you, Madam Chair. My understanding is that you have resolved to actually support the project, and you've also resolved to actually increase the dollar value for the project. The only time that it would be coming back to Council if there was any exceedance of the funding requirements that was available for the project.
Just to get it straight for the record, that funding requirement is a total cost of 12.75 million. And have the Health Board confirmed in writing that they have only $4 million for it? So there's been no confirmation from the Board in writing on the dollar quantity from them?
The two focus areas for us is the total quantum of the project and the expectation for Council's contribution. And so there is nothing at this point that Council has been looked to contribute an additional amount to it, and the total project cost is still to be finalised.
That was dependent, I think, going out for design, etc. Is that correct? Yes, thank you. Councillor Stewart.
Regarding procedure, Madam Chair, with regards to a petition, when a petition is presented to Parliament, I know we're not in Parliament, but Parliament gives a recommendation that it go to a respective select committee for discussion and any matters relating to that to be forwarded through to a committee. I would have thought just receiving the petition and no response from a political point of view at committee level, I really think, well, what it's a waste of time doing a petition. I actually think they need a whole of council response rather than just a mayoral response.
Thank you, Councillor Stewart. There is a response, but I'll like JP to clarify that for you.
It's a good question, Councillor Stewart. A staff member was in attendance who's involved in the combined project team between the Rotorua Lakes Council and the DHB. The discussions were designed. Well, there was a significant discussion where they explored some of the concerns that led to the organisers of the petition putting it forward. So those concerns were noted, and so that staff member will be taking those concerns back to that combined project team for their consideration and evaluation. So really that's those concerns have been taken back to that project team for them to consider how they affect the project.
JP, and just one other question, because I think your answer, Jeff, from where I'm sitting was a little bit inconclusive. There is total commitment, I understand, being a DHB member, that their funding source is set in concrete and that they are committed to the project. Am I right?
Well, I think the question was, have they confirmed in writing their funding availability? And the answer is no, because they actually have confirmed, but they have confirmed their commitment to the project, and also their willingness to continue with the project with the expected project costs. So by implication, they're confirming their funding availability. So that's right.
Thank you. Councillor Donaldson, then Councillor Kent.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. My question was along the same lines as Councillor Sturt, is that if we're receiving a petition, I haven't yet cited it, and so I'd be interested in the proposition that was framed to people to sign up to by the organisers of the petition. All I saw was a piece of cardboard on the front of a table that said "Save Our Library," and I never investigated their desk further because I didn't feel the library was under threat. But I'd like to see the nature of the proposition that was framed to people to sign the petition, and a bit of an analysis about, the numbers that. So when will that come back to us, along with the refined costs and also the commitment from District Health Board? At what meeting?
Councillors, we with regards to the project, we have been through the project detail with you, and at the point where you resolved the project budget, the discussion was that we were to go away as staff and to work with the project to further it, and would be not bringing it back to council unless there was any variations from the project that we were seeing would have cost implications to you. So effectively the project is continuing, and that it will actually be brought to conclusion within the project framework. It won't come back unless there's any changes in expectations to that. We can bring back an analysis if you wished with regards to the material that's actually been brought to the Mayor, and a view as to numbers and an analysis of that, though, if you wished, and we could take that back at the next O&M. Would that be the appropriate venue, JP?
Will that report coming back to council, will that have input from the combined project team? I presume that the project team is combined with DHB representation and council representation? Fine. So that's, thank you. Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a couple of questions. First of all, concerning the actual acceptance of the petition by this committee. Since this committee can only make recommendations to council, how can it accept something on behalf of council? Surely the presentation of the petition should be made to council, not to this committee. That's my first question. And my second question is, when am I going to receive an explanation that I have publicly called for, which is an explanation as to how, if the library is totally renovated and the health component goes elsewhere, it will cost this council $4.4 million worth of ratepayer funds. Yet if the two go together, it is going to cost ratepayers $8.8 million worth of funds. And at the same time, this council is claiming publicly that no ratepayer funds will be contributing to health services. And I would like a public explanation of that, please.
Thank you, JP.
Through Madam Chair, the question about receiving the petition to this committee versus council was the view that it was probably more appropriate to receive it here. It will go into the minutes, and you're correct in saying that the council ultimately has to receive that, but that would be through the receipt of the minutes of this committee. So it is being received by council through this committee to council. As far as the project costings are concerned, I think you're comparing two different positions at the time. At the first instance, I think the comparison we've made to the 4.1 is if the DHB did not come into the building, that was the original concept costs for us to, if you recall, renovate the top floor because of the significant leak issues we have on the top floor. So the lower cost option was to do the minimum, which was to fix the top floor and to patch the rest of the building. And we've highlighted previously issues with the stairwells. So the 4.1 that you're comparing to, which is the not including the DHB, is the minimum cost option. What had been discussed and had been part of the conversation that had been undertaken on the extension of the funding up to the 12.8 was a concept that actually included the full renovation of the library component. So the 8.7, 8.8 was not only to do that first part, which was to rebuild, reconstruct the top floor, address the leaking issues down through the building, undertake the patching, but also to complete a significant renovation of the library itself. And that included ceiling tiles, carpets, repainting, and obviously an earthquake was also part of the 4.1. So it's actually a different level of service. So the library is getting an enhancement through that 8.8. As far as the area that is identified for the DHB within the proposed plans, that is where they're intending to spend their $4 million or so, and that's what they're working through during what's now forming the detailed design phase, so that they can see how that is spent just within the area that they'll be leasing.
Madam Chair, that explanation is at odds with an explanation that was given to me in this chamber by JP when I very specifically asked the question, how much would it cost to totally renovate the library? And the figure that I was given was 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, somewhere around there. But I clarified with him, did that include renovation, replacement of the roof, renovation of the building, and a complete renovation of the library? And it is on record that that was what we were getting for $4 and a bit million. So I want to know what we're getting for the other $4 million.
Now, thank you very much, Jeff. Earthquake.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councillors, there seems to obviously be some ongoing discussion and debate about the nature of this project, and just as I've been listening to some of the discussion, I wonder whether it is worthwhile us at the next O&M meeting to bring back to you a view of the project as a project update, and in that project update we can actually represent to you the breakdown of how the costs fall, how the fact that the DHB becomes effectively a tenant within that building, how that actually moves forward with regards to the cost structures and so on. So we actually reframe for you actually the project so that you can then be informed as to where it's sitting.
Thank you, that would be very much appreciated.
Yes, thank you. I think that timely as well. I do hope somebody's gone upstairs in that building to check the top floor after last night's deluge. Councillor Gould.
With the Chief Executive's explanation before Mr Jeff Williams, to me as a councillor, variation of cost is major. We're having a meeting on Monday, and I want to know whether it's possible whether a report could come to that meeting on Monday, as the next committee meeting is 6 weeks away, and it's a hell of a long time to wait for an answer.
Thank you. We will be waiting till the operations and management meeting, because we do want correct information, and that has to be gathered from a number of sources. So although it may be some time off, that would be the most appropriate place to have that report presented. Thank you.
Just to correct, there is no variation of cost. So the project, as we understand at this particular time, is proceeding according to the expectations that you set at the last meeting, where you resolved to support the project and resolved also to set a particular funding level for it. So there are no variations from that. What we're bringing back to you is a presentation on the project, its costs and how those are framed.
Thank you. Oh, yes, Councillor McVicker.
At the O&M meeting, could I request that we have some information regarding the rental recovery that the council is charging the DHB, because I have heard recently whereby they're supposedly paying market rates. I question that based on historical information. So that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wepa.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I hope my apologies for lateness were
Yes, they were.
received.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm coming into this discussion a little late, so forgive me if I'm repeating things that have been said. I would just like to, hearing briefly from Councillor Kenton Gould, I just would like to remind councillors that in the LTP, of course, we approved 5.4 for this project. And in December last year, we agreed that the total project would be 12.8 with 4 from the DHB. So, and I think at that meeting, if I recall last year, we were given a reasonable breakdown of how that would be covered. And I think the main thing was in terms of the tenancy, we will be having a tenant for 35 years, and yes, they may only be paying the same rate that Destination Rotorua are paying at the moment, but it's not redistributing funds from council. So I think we all had that information, and so certainly I think it's useful at O&M to be reminded and perhaps clarified and brought up to date. But I would just say that we were reminded, and I did see in the paper yesterday that Her Worship the Mayor was quoted as saying it won't cost the ratepayer anything. I wondered if that was short-cut, because really my understanding was that the ratepayer won't be paying for the DHB part, and I think that's the main thing. We could do, as we've always done in the library, and I won't go on at length, but we all know around this table that in the library, we have always shortchanged the library. When we did our renovation there in 2008, they had to scrimp and save, get carpet from all over the place to make it work, and we thought we were wonderful, spending about $2 million. And the reality, it hasn't been given the level of care that it is needed. So my understanding in this project that it actually would become a library that we are all very proud of, that we all value. When we look at what the museum, we spent 25 million. I know that only 4 million was ratepayer funding, and the rest came from the Crown and other sources. We spent 28 million on the Energy Events Centre. We spent about $6 million upgrading the backstage of the theatre. So we did a lot of things, and the library continues to be neglected, which is why I have strongly and always have strongly supported the library. And I think this is an exciting project, and I won't go on again because everyone rolls their eyes. But we have seen in the past that councillors have tried to even cut the library book budget. We have one library. To me, the library is core infrastructure. If you compare it with every other infrastructure as roads, sewerage, water, all of those sorts of things, we still are spending $40 million in renewal a year. And so I don't think we're shortchanging those other areas of infrastructure. To me, library is infrastructure. I think it's exciting. It's about child. There may be some with a disability, and I am looking forward, and I think the Working Party has got a clear message that we want a very clever design that is inside crime prevention principles for environmental design. I don't know what the name is that for inside. I know that's the name for outside. But basically that it works and flows really well, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. I went to a children's hospital, I have to say, in Melbourne, and it was the most exciting place. You'd never think you were there. I think this could mix very well, and I think that we really need to spend the money, and I'm sure our officers have got the message that we've approved a total cap of 8.8 from this council, and I think that sits well for such a huge building. Thank you, Madam Chair, for my lengthy discussion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wepper. We have heard from the Chief Executive that we are going to get an update at the next O&M meeting. So unless councillors have something in addition that hasn't been heard this morning or hasn't, I will take those comments, but otherwise we're going to move on. So it's got obviously something new. Councillor Schrank.
I just want to clarify partly of what Councillor Donaldson asked, and that is the object of this petition. It's very clear when you read the heading. It is to abandon a children's health hub going in with the library. So all this discussion is rather superfluous to the petition itself, because that is very definite in what it is asking.
Thank you. Well put, Councillor Schrank. Councillor Sturt.
In some ways, I regret actually having raised the issue, but because we've dived off into all sorts of things.
Some of us might agree with you there.
What I was more concerned about was how we how we handle petitions and what recommendations come from that petition. I mean, if us around this table do not agree with the petition, a reply should go back and say we do not agree, neither does the DHB agree. They believe that this is the right place for this children's hub, and the renovations of the library had to be done anyway because of the building's very structure of the building. So that's where I'm coming from. I was more interested in, and I hear your passion, Councillor Webber, but what I was more concerned about was how we handle not only this petition, because we could get other petitions, by just saying presentation of petition to abandon plans are placed at the Rotorua Children's Health Hub and the Rotorua Public Library. It doesn't give away ahead, but we're certainly taking the cue from the Chief Executive Officer that a comprehensive report will come back to us. But my God, I agree with you, Councillor Whipper. We've had report after report after report. But the problem is that some people are talking and twittering to other people outside this council and getting the wrong end of the stick. So I think we should bring that report back, Mr. Williams, put it to bed for once and for all. We've made a financial commitment to the 8.8 million. I understand the DHB have made a financial commitment to their component, and we're in the design phase at the moment. There's no backing out. I understood there was no backing out now, that we've made that financial commitment by approving the long-term plan. So, Madam Chair, I just wondered, JP, if you could just reiterate what we're going to do and how we handle this petition, more than the substance of the content of that petition.
Just through you, Madam Chair. Councillor Sturt, there is no staff recommendation for this petition. The recommendation really is that you receive it. And so it's been given to you clearly with the intent of the petition. So you have got what the petition is actually looking to achieve. And it really now is your decision and council's decision as to what you do with it. Clearly today you could not actually take any action for this, but in the future you may wish to actually put a notice of motion if you felt strongly that the petition needed particular action, and look to achieve your objectives through a notice of motion. But what we are recommending from a staff point of view is that you receive this petition and you note it, and that is where it stops. You've also asked today to re-look at the structure of the project and to have represented to you an update as to progress and so on. At that point, you could make further decisions with regards to reflecting back to the petition that you've received, the nature of the project, how it's proceeding and so on. So there are always steps here for you to make decisions as to how you see things progressing.
I do want to ask for a mover and a seconder for the motion. Thank you. That the petition to abandon plans to place a children's health hub in the Rotorua Public Library be received. It's been moved by Councillor Donaldson. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Kent. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Thank you. Carried.
Madam Chair, I have a request just following on from what I was saying to put to the Chief Executive with respect to his report that's coming back to us on that issue. And that is, my recollection is that the 8.8 million was approved by this council by a very slender majority with a proviso, and that proviso was subject to a report back to councillors that the increase in expenditure could be achieved within the long-term plan budget. We haven't seen that report, so we don't know what else is going missing out of that long-term plan budget for this to go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Kent. Those points are noted by the Chief Executive. Thank you. And we'll look forward to receiving that report. Now, recommendation 1, transfer of ownership of Homerana Springs water supply land to Ngāti Rangawewahi. Thank you. I'll call for a move and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Donaldson. Thank you, Councillor Hunt. To receive that report. Oh, all those in favour, please say aye, that we receive that report. Thank you. Carried. Now, where's Dave? Thank you. Good morning, Dave. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and councillors through Chair. I think it's a pretty full report, so rather than going right back through all of the details, council can get what it needs in regards to the water take through the easement that it currently holds. It's not a transfer for us to do, it's a transfer for the Minister to do through DOC. However, the transfer originally didn't happen because of our water easement and council being opposed to it. So the proposal in here actually is that we don't need to have that preservation in place and that we actually trigger the mechanism to get the Minister to consider handing it back. As the report says, that does include a notice, a public process, but that will be determined actually by the Minister. So the element is for us to actually initiate the process to say our needs are dealt with in regards to the easement and that we would support the land going back to Ngāti Ranga Wewahi.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you very much for the full report on this matter. I'd like to now open it up for discussion. Councillor McVicker.
Where are we with regard to the alternative supply to Taniwha Springs? And secondly, has it been considered that this could be an alternative point of supply? Just a simple question which may sound simple, but I'd be interested to learn where are we with the Taniwha Springs?
Yeah, well, in answer to where we are with Taniwha Springs, there have been a number of meetings with iwi, a number of hui with them. We went to present to their kaumātua about a week and a half ago, and they have appointed a group to start discussions and negotiations with us around the possibility of continuing to take water from Taniwha. The issue, as it goes back from the meetings that we've had, emphasised to us by kaumātua, more than one kaumātua last week, was had council done what we're now doing, we probably wouldn't have had the issue that we've run into with the resource consent. The big issue for iwi was not so much the taking of the water and using the water, it was the taking of the land and taking of the spring and then closing in the spring. So effectively that whole sort of European view of ownership rather than utilisation. So I probably put that a little bit clumsily, really, but they're talking to us at the moment about the possibility of us reaching an agreement with them to continue to take water into the future, and actually around a joint management of the taking of that water, and around the consents as well.
I understand that and accept that, but given the fact that the Hamarana Springs has a consent for another 10 years and the Taniwha 2 years, is Hamarana Springs in the picture?
The issue we run into, or would run into with Hamarana compared to Taniwha, is actually that the interested party in both circumstances is Ngāti Ranga Wewahi. So to quite an extent, in terms of if we were to go down the track of increasing the water take from Hamarana to feed in to Taniwha, we've got quite a significant cost in terms of laying the pipes to get there. I understand, Andy, it was a thing that was considered in the early stages, so you've got quite a cost within that. The other one is it would require a new resource consent to do that, which then if that was a viable, suitable option, you could explore it, but it fell over pretty much at the cost element to start with.
Thank you. And it's good to hear, Dave, that people are communicating already and that it appears that good faith negotiations are taking place. So there have been learnings, undoubtedly, from this whole exercise. Councillor Hunt and then Councillor Sturt.
Thank you. I think this is not only a pragmatic move by council, but more importantly, it's the first step to resolve a long grievance, and it does show our willingness to work with iwi and as part of the partnership. My question is, how long do we know does the Minister normally take upon receipt of a request like this to go through the process? Is it 6 months? Is it a couple of years? Obviously, starting the process is the first step, but I just wondered if we had any idea of timing.
No, I don't know, but we do know that this was an issue in regards to the settlement as being unresolved and noted as being unresolved. And we know that members of Parliament were very, very keen and were sorry they couldn't get to the Taniwha Springs element. So we know this is important, certainly to members of Cabinet, to look to get forward and get done. So we think it will probably happen with all due speed, but following appropriate process. Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Sturt.
Madam Chair, I support the direction that this recommendation takes because it's righting as Councillor Hunt said, a long-standing wrong in the eyes of iwi when it was forcibly taken. However, I don't want people to get confused between Taniwha Springs and Amarana Springs. They are separate issues. And there was an attempt when I was on the Works Committee years ago to get a linkage between Amarana Spring and Taniwha Spring and put a huge pipe. And Council of the Day thankfully voted that down because the capacity at the Hamarana Spring was in question because already the Kaharoa supply and the Hamarana residential supply come off Hamarana Spring. So the likelihood, in answer to Councillor McVicker's question, of the Nongataha supply coming off Hamarana Spring as well, that would be huge in terms of what was going back into Lake Rotorua, and that's the reason why iwi fought the draw-off from the Taniwha Springs was because the draw-off was going to be increased expeditiously. They had to go to the Environment Court to stop us. So I think, Madam Chair, let's deal with this in separation from the Taniwha Springs issue. Our officers have told us that discussions and a working party has been set up. I just hope that there is some teeth to that working party. It's not only staff, but I think some of us should be involved in that as well, because the ongoing need for water for Nongataha, Hamarana, Kaharoa, the whole area, is an issue that we'll have to face collectively rather than just iwi on its own. We need to be jointly involved, and I'm pleased to hear the tenure of the discussions here today, so I support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Sturt, and I understand that Councillor, our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Donaldson, has been involved in some of those early discussions.
Yes, I can confirm that, Madam Chair. I did attend at Tarimano Marae last Thursday night with Mr Foster, and I have to say that there is goodwill on both sides, and also a pragmatic approach to future water supplies has been, albeit with, I guess, a sustainability lens coming from iwi. Yeah.
Councillor Shirang.
Number 7, under the considerations on page 17, it speaks about financial and budget considerations, and it talks about a possible contribution from council on the public notification. I completely understand the process, but it would be anticipated to be only a small amount. So what do you call a small amount?
We'd probably be talking a number somewhere between 1 and 5,000, I would have thought.
The public notification, though, would that not fall under the Minister of Conservation's? Normally it does, yes.
It would.
Yes. Thank you for raising that, Councillor Shirang. I'd like to now call for a mover and a seconder for the following motion. Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Thank you, Councillor Wepper. That the committee notes that continued Crown ownership of the land at Homerana Springs used for the water supply purposes is not required to continue the water take, and that the Crown's continued ownership is a long-standing treaty grievance. Point 3, that the committee recommends to Council that the reserve status of the land at Homerana Springs taken for water supply purposes be revoked and the land transferred back to the former owners at no cost and subject to an easement for the Council to take water from the site up until the end of the current consent in 2026. 4, that the committee notes, given the land in question is Crown land, that the effect of its resolution 3 above is to trigger a statutory process under the Reserves Act and a decision by the Minister of Conservation. I'd like to...
Madam Chair,
Yes.
should the point 4 read that the committee notes?
That the committee notes. Oh, yes, that the committee... That's right, because it goes to it's actually on there. There is a point that I'd like to raise, and I really feel quite strongly about this. It's in number 3, that the committee recommends to Council that the reserve status of the land at Homerana Springs taken for the water supply purposes be revoked and the land transferred back to the former owners. They are not the former owners, they are the owners of the land. And that is really, yes, and I just wondered if with the committee we could actually take out the former. They have never relinquished their ownership rights. No, if you would agree, councillors? Just the owners, just the owners. Thank you. So it's been moved, those 3 have been moved and seconded. Thank you. I'd like to put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary? Thank you very much. I'd like to call for a mover and a seconder that we now go into committee. Oh, sorry, into confidential. Oh, yes, sorry, Councillor Stewart.
In the media, the only confidential nature, you know, and you'd have to stretch that quite a bit, is the details of the people's their bios, but that can remain confidential. But the rest of it has already been discussed in the public, in that Te Arawa have made a decision on who they would like to nominate. It's for us to accept those nominations. I take that as a given. But I actually believe that this discussion should be held in the public domain rather than behind closed doors, because the individuals concerned have already been named in the media, and it's just a matter of process that we had already agreed to, that we gave the power to Te Arawa to have an election. They've had an election, and for them to meet and select the people that they believed would have the participatory rights on the 2 standing committees of Council, that being Operations and Monitoring, in this committee. So, Madam Chair, I just wondered whether my colleagues want to rethink that, because, you know, I plead that we do, because I'd rather this be out in the open.
Thank you. First of all, yes, we didn't ask for full CVs to be included. I'm rather amazed that they were. We usually get, for CCOs, we usually get a little, you know, 6-line bio. So we've got certainly very comprehensive CVs accompanying this report here. But the process that we have used in the past for CCOs is that it is also always held in confidence, and I'm not sure if that's why this is the reason for that. So I'm just going to perhaps ask JP for some clarification.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an important point to raise, but as you're aware, the nominations are at this stage only nominations to Council, and as we laboured during the process, there is the opportunity for Council to make a decision based on the skills, knowledge and experience of those nominations. So it is your decision. And the intention, and just like we have with the CCO nominations, is that you're enabled through the confidential item to have the free and frank discussion about those nominations and to discuss their skills, knowledge and experience and appropriateness to be appointed onto those committees. So this is entirely your decision, as has been put forward. So at this stage the intention really was that that gives you the opportunity, just as you can discuss CCO nominees or applicants, that opportunity to have a free and frank discussion about individual people in confidence, at which point the intention, the recommendation is that the recommendations you are putting to council at the end of that discussion will be made publicly available.
That I think as long as consistent application is applied in terms of these individuals, we will be discussing the individuals. But it then behoves the question, Madam Chair, these are nominations from the Te Arawa people, or the iwi. They've been made public. It puts us in a very, very difficult position in terms of whether we accept or don't accept the individuals concerned, and that's what really worries me. This is already out in the public domain. I mean, with the CCO nominations, they were not out in the public domain, and in fact, it was really important we did that on a confidential basis because we did change some. We said no, we don't think that person has the skills, knowledge, or experience, and we called for further names to come forward. So that's the dilemma that I have.
Thank you, Councillor Sturt. Look, your points are noted, but I think everything about the Te Arawa Partnership has been in the public domain since day one. So I think we should go into confidential, and I'd like to ask for a mover and a seconder, please, that we do so. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you very much, Councillor Donaldson and Councillor Hunt. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye, thank you. Should we take a 5-minute break, please? Thank you, and we'll go into cap. Thank you, because I just want to go through.